Oh, guys, we're gonna do another video on Ubisoft. This is not a good idea. I'm telling you as someone who's been around the block, this is not a good idea. Ubisoft workers, they're being urged to strike in October over return to office. Guess what? Given where Ubisoft stock is, given that Star Wars Outlaws was a massive disaster, and given that they're pushing back Assassin's Creed Shadows to next year because, well, it just ain't ready. I think they're sending it back to the kitchen. Now is not a good time to be asking anything from this company. They're in absolute shambles. This company is on fire. And I keep telling people, and I know it sounds, you're probably getting tired of hearing it, sounds very cliche, but you never ask daddy for a pony when he just got laid off. And I think Ubisoft employees are about to get a hard lesson via the School of Hard Knocks. This is not a good time, in my opinion, to ask for more from this company when I don't even know how many of these people are going to be allowed to stay. I think they're going to have to do a massive restructuring. They've been laying people off. So let's talk about this. I got to give a hat tip to Grums. I didn't even see this, and he tagged me in. He summoned me. So I'm obliged to do a video on it just when I thought I was done talking about Ubisoft. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. No woohoos today. Geeky's sitting this one out. She will be back. I promise she will be back. We just have a lot going on. You guys have no idea. We don't talk about everything we do, but we got a lot going on. And you'll find out in the coming months and maybe years what has actually been going on here at Clownfish HQ. In the interim, go out to clownfish-.com, join the reef. You'll get exclusive content. You'll get merchandise discounts. Look at this merch. We got pins in stock. We got these hats. I should be getting some samples of these hats in on Friday. They're pretty cool from what people have been telling me. So the classic dismal parody t-shirt. And if you join the reef, you get like 10% off, 5 or 10% off, depending on the tier you join. So thank you very much for any consideration. Yeah, let's look at this because Grum said Ubisoft workers are urged to strike for higher pay and a return to office. This isn't going to go well. The Hollywood strike ended up hurting writers. Yes, it did. Somebody, some moron did a video like a year or two ago, said that we were advocating for assault against Hollywood writers, which is incredibly stupid. Why would we do that? I think I made a joke. It was clearly a joke about Josh Brolin's character in Hail Caesar, which is an amazing movie, by the way. You should go see it if you haven't seen it already, about how Hollywood, back in the day probably would have slapped the crap out of people talking communist talk, right? That's just, they didn't really put up with it. There's a reason that McCarthyism was a thing. But I also said this isn't going to go the way you think, and ask the many unemployed Hollywood writers and other people working in Hollywood how it worked out for them. The people who are left are getting more money, but there are far fewer jobs. In fact, I've heard like 75% of Hollywood is now unemployed. Now, Hollywood was actually doing pretty okay when they went on strike, but not as bad as it's apparently doing now. The gaming industry is in a very different place. It's already doing terrible. AAA gaming is on fire. It's burning down. It's imploding. Many high-profile failures, and several of those are Ubisoft games. Now is not a good time. Ubisoft stock is worth under $3 a share, right? It's the lowest it's been since like 2014. Now is a terrible time to ask your company for anything. But you know what? You do it and see what happens. Because I think this company is going to wind up going private. I think they're going to wind up getting sold off. Something's going to happen. Something has got to give. Anyway, this comes from gamesindustry.biz. Ubisoft workers urged to strike in October over return to office. French union SJIV calls for formal agreement on remote work and salary raises to account for drop in living standards. At this point, not to be that guy, but you're lucky to have a job at all with this company. As it is what it is. Their France-based workers are being called to take part in a 3-day strike next month over a dispute around the company's return to office policy. Why does nobody want to go back to work? Like they don't Pandemic's over, bro. Go back to work. The strike was called by French game workers union SJIV. And I cannot pronounce what that actually stands for. Something syndicate, something. After management at the Assassin's Creed publisher told staff they would be expected to be in the office at least 3 days per week going forward. Oh my God, that's so abusive, guys. 3 whole days a week. At least they're not asking you to like sleep on the futon in the office, right? That was kind of part of the gaming culture, part of any tech company for years. Like you were expected to basically live at the company. And I've been there. I used to work for a tech company. I worked for a company that did software. We actually did software for the government mostly. And sometimes the hours were very long. I worked at a newspaper back in the day. Yeah, that used to be a thing. And I worked very long hours. And it's amazing that Geeky and I are still married, actually, because I was a managing editor for a paper when we first got married. And there were days I was working 16, 18 hours a day. And I still remember the look on her face when I'd come home after being gone since 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'd finally get home at like 11 o'clock at night. And she'd be like, what the hell? And I'm like, I'm the boss. I'm not allowed to leave. It's like I can't leave. Anyway, the union claims this decision was made without any tangible justification or any consultation with the workers' representatives. Gamesindustry.biz reached out to Ubisoft. The company declined to comment. Yeah, they got plenty of things they got to deal with right now. After more than 5 years of working efficiently in the current remote work context, many of our colleagues have built or rebuilt their lives, family life, housing, parenthood, etc., and simply cannot return to the previous working conditions. That's true in some cases. It is true, but just, never assume that it's a permanent when you're working for somebody else and you're working for a company that's clearly in the financial shithole that Ubisoft is in. Don't assume you're going to have that job forever. Just don't. Our employer knows this perfectly well. The consequence of its decisions will be the loss of our colleagues' jobs. They don't care. The disorganization of many game projects, they're probably going to cancel stuff anyway. And the drastic increase in psychosocial risks for those who remain, they do not care. This company is on fire. They're going to do whatever they can do to stay in business. Like, it is not good. The union added that this return to office policy followed failed negotiations over profit sharing, where the organization found management proposals to be unacceptable, while leadership was deaf to the proposals of the various employee representatives. Share what profits exactly? What profits are we sharing? Because Ubisoft has been laying people off. They're in the shithole right now. They're really not doing well. They've got their own investors calling for management's heads. Now is not a good time to ask for a pony. That's all I'm saying. Actually, take the effort that you're going to organize and keep your resume updated, and maybe spend some time learning some other job skills, because I don't think a lot of these people are going to have jobs at Ubisoft for much longer. When they decide to throw people overboard due to the underperformance of Star Wars Outlaws and what was it, X-Defiant, that was the other one that didn't do very well, and the fact they had to postpone Assassin's Creed, you're going to be first on the list. Trust me, bro. I know how this works. I've been the guy who's had to make those decisions before. If you cause them problems and they know you're going to be more expensive and they don't have the money to pay you, you are the first to go. See ya. They don't care. At the end of the day, they're trying to stay in business. They don't care. It says similar dispute was apparently had over salary negotiations. As a result, the union is calling on all Ubisoft employees in France to strike on October 15th. Well, where are they working on now? I mean, they pushed Assassin's Creed back. They're clearly not working on Star Wars. The union is demanding that Ubisoft introduce a formal agreement on remote work based on negotiations between management and SJIV, and an immediate increase in all salaries to compensate for the drop in our living standards in recent years. Have you not read the headlines? This company doesn't have any fucking money to give you. The news comes just hours after Ubisoft revised its financial forecast and delayed Assassin's Creed to February of next year, citing learning from the Star Wars Outlaw release. Translation, the game fucking bombed. In the wake of the game's launch, Ubisoft's share price fell to a 10-year low and has declined by more than 50% over the last year. This is gamesindustry.biz, which I believe leans left, and they're even pointing out this company has no fucking money. You're going to get yourselves fired. They're going to lay you off. They're going to fire you. And it's not because they're anti-union. They just know you're going to cost more and they don't have the money to pay you. Yeah, at least they're not going to send thugs to your house to beat you up like Hollywood would have. Can I make that joke? The publisher is also launching an internal review in the light of recent challenges to identify ways the company can improve how it releases games, engage with players, and benefit its stakeholders and shareholders. I'm going to blow this one up. The benefit to their stakeholders and shareholders would be to save money, and you just made yourselves very disposable. So congratulations on that. I'm just saying, I'm not being a dick. I'm just telling you how it's going to go. And I guarantee you a lot of these people are probably in their 20s and they're like, oh my God, guys, remote work. This is the best thing ever. This is how all work should be. We should only work like 20 hours a week and get paid $100,000 a year. It's fantastic. Work-life balance. Yeah, that's over. Didn't you get the memo? You didn't get the memo, right? Because you weren't at work. We handed the memos out in person and you weren't there. It was one of your off days or whatever. Remote work can work sometimes. I did it myself. I did it for like 5 years. But I can tell you, most people, most companies, they want to know you're actually there and doing what you're being paid to do. And yeah, I know it's kind of intrusive to have your boss looking over your shoulder, but there are a lot of people that take advantage of the remote work situation. I'm not saying everybody, but you can blame all the other people that phone it in, maybe work 5 or 10 hours a week when they're being paid for 40 to 50 hours a week. You can blame them for the reason why a lot of companies are demanding that you go back into the office so they can see what you're doing. Going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later. Join the reef. Go to clownfish-.com. That's clownfish-.com. You will get exclusive access to podcasts and videos and comic strips and more, as well as merch discounts. Check it out. If you were a member, you could get this t-shirt, this dismal t-shirt on our website. You'd get a 10% discount on that. You can also join in the community on clownfish-.com. Thank you so much for the support.